In 2008, a civilian group were held in a 9-to-5 prison. These men escaped into the world of paragliding. Still wanted today, they survive on adrenaline. If you've got a problem and no one else can help, then join the Gin team.
Simon on his gin sprint. More brake, Simon. A bit more brake. Hold it there. Relax. That's it. Just look around left and right a lot. So we're at Beachy Head. Simon's off on his gin sprint. Evo.
Go ahead, Paul. What are you doing?
Oh, we're on it. Yeah, this is a refresher flight for me.
Good.
So.
All right. Well, let's hope we have a good flight then with Rob.
So here we are at Beachy Head. Launch is most probably the most difficult part of the day. A lot of concentration goes on launch. If you can't ground handle and can't launch to a good degree, recommended you don't fly at this site. It's very sensitive, but if you can't do what you see in the picture right now, most probably not good for you to go to such a public site, shall we say. There's a lot of people here. Got to watch out for them. So I'm on tandem here, taking Paul up. In about 10 minutes after flying around with the other pilots, when he's happy, he'll take the controls. I'm pointing out on the way as we fly the bushes here. We're flying over them. You may think you've got ample height. The wind drops. You're in the bushes. Have alternative areas to land. To land at the bottom is a long walk back up. You can fly down to Eastbourne, but again, check the site rules. Don't just go off there and find out what it's like. So, Beachy Head. Problems. Sea fog could come in at any moment. You want to be looking out at sea. Top landings, they're not easy to be done. If you're not landing on top, where are you going to land? What other options do you have? So here with Paul, I'm just showing him as we fly over. He's 67 kilos, I'm 78. There's not a lot of weight. We're on a sky glider here, so it's nice performance, quite fast, not slow. And you can see you can quite easily turn quite sharp here. So yeah, it's a ridge soaring site. It's not a bad place. I'm showing Paul that you can slow the glider down. Again, don't practice this. And what I'm doing is I'm getting near parachutal position with the glider, just slowing it down, put my hands up. I was just bleeding a little bit of height off. Now, when you fly around Beachy Head, the things to be thinking about is other pilots. You get a bit busy, push out the front. You don't need to stay on the ridge like I am here. I'm just showing Paul how to fly up and down in the ridge. Another point to look out for, red streamer on the harness. They put them on the gliders these days, so it's more difficult. But if they're at launch, you'll see in a moment this glider below me is a red streamer. And the red streamer is not familiar possibly with the site, but they got less than 10 hours. And if they've got less than 10 hours and they're trying to launch, you can see the glider there. It's trying to pull them up the hill. The glider's in control of them, not them in control of the glider. So they're concentrating on trying to get their act together. I'm trying to come into top land. It's most probably I just stay in the ridge lift and wait for them to take off. It'd be unfair to expect them to actually know where I was. But at the same time, this pilot is qualified and must be responsible for his own actions. So here's a more a pilot, I think, with most probably 20 years, in fact, this person. He slows the glider down, and again, don't try this. His experience, he's taken the glider to a point where it's not producing lift. He slowly comes down. It's when your feet actually touch the deck. That's the important bit, being able to get your glider down. So now we're back to Paul and myself here. Paul is actually flying the tandem. I'm allowing him to fly. Now, this will give him confidence. He's going to do a few days, build up a few hours with me, and then go back to his solo flying. I'm just there to give guidance. So we've got a pilot here. You can see the glider's trying to pull the pilot up the hill. He pulls on the D-risers to pull it down. It's not the best way to treat your glider, quite honestly, but the pilot is in control. This pilot here has laid the glider out of wind. That way, it's not going to be bouncing around trying to drag him around. And when he's ready, he can take off. It's exactly the same place as the pilot before. So the pilot's ready, just pops his glider out. And notice when he launches the glider, it doesn't take off. He has a look. He has a look to the left, sees what's going on, walks back, in control, has a look to the right, and when it's ready, off they go. And that's how it's supposed to be done. Now I'm trying to make a top landing here for Paul, and our pilot's taken off. Priority obviously goes to the landing person, but the pilot's kindly seen me and he's moved out the way. This can happen. You may be struggling with your glider and not notice that somebody's coming in. So it's very important to be aware. And if it's too busy and you think it's too crowded, don't take off. Go for a walk. You don't have to fly. So I've done a big ears on a big ear where I deflated the glider. Very good useful technique on the sky. You can pull it in, hold it in a cleat, and both hands are free to operate. I've also arranged for somebody else just to help me here. This will just assist Paul a little bit better and make the launch and take off easier if you have somebody when you're on tandem. So this is what it looks like when you're coming in. It's very different up in the air.
Can you give us a debrief, please?
Yeah, we're flying at Beachy Head today, and what's happened is I've taken Paul up on tandem to get him some air time, and he will give his own he's going to explain what he thinks about the site. It's a very simple site.
Well, I thought the approach, it was exceptionally busy, and you're sort of trying to keep an eye on what everybody was doing. The wind's quite strong, so we needed help on landing, and for when we were trying to come in to land, I think on more than one occasion that there was two gliders had taken off. There was a couple of guys preparing to take off. One had just got airborne as well near the windsocks, which meant we had to go away from the ridge again. But again, there's gliders taken off all the time, which created a lot of problems. We had to turn quite a lot. Plus, obviously, we were getting quite a lot of lift. We ended up quite high, because we were just in front of the landing site, so we trying to lose height, keep an eye on what was going on with not only the paragliders, we also got obviously keep an eye with the models as well. So the landing itself was actually quite tricky.
I might not go flying tomorrow, Simon.
All right, mate.
You off now? You're going back to London?
I'm going to London, I'm going to France later in the week.
And then you're going to France later in the week?
All
right, mate.
Cheers.
I'll catch you later.
Cheers.
We flew Beachy. Nice
Beachy.
one.
Done Beachy.
And
Thanks,
high
mate.
and over. Whoops.
Thanks, mate.